These are three of the best and most popular $100 point and shoot cameras that you can buy right now. Campsnap Pro, the Flashback 135 V2, and the Rewindpix, which hasn't even come out yet. And as similar as they are in a lot of ways, they also couldn't be more different in other ways. Some things about these cameras I really like, and other things absolutely infuriate me. And if you're thinking about buying any of them, you should watch through this video because I'm gonna deep dive into each camera, compare their differences, not just the image quality, but actually practical stuff. First off, if you're new to photography, welcome. I'm seeing a lot more photographers getting interested in photography for the first time because of ads they see on Instagram for little screen-free retro cameras like these. And I just think that's really exciting to have you. So I hope you stick around. Photography is a great hobby. Also, real quick, this video is not sponsored, but you should know that I bought the Campsnap myself, but the Rewindpix prototype and the Flashback 135 V2 were sent to me by their respective companies. But of course, I'll be honest with you and, you'll hear me. Let's start with what's the same with the cameras. All three cameras fall into this new category of cameras that are squarely in between the terrible Walmart Vivitar cameras and an affordable entry point and shoot like this Kodak that's been getting a lot of attention. If I had to rank them in a graph, you have cheapo cameras. These cameras are a step above that. Then you have entry point and shoots kind of around the same spot, and then finally mid-range and premium point and shoots from Canon, Nikon, Ricoh, etc. The Campsnap Pro is the cheapest, coming in at $100, but it's often $85 on sale. That's how much I paid for it. The Flashback 135 V2 is $119, and they say the price is going to increase soon. So I don't know what that's going to be. They like to do bundle sales for buying multiple copies. So if you get like 4 friends in on it, you can save a couple bucks. And the Rewindpix is a pre-production camera, but the Kickstarter has it start at $100. I don't know the final price. All three cameras use the same sensor size, a 1/3.06 inch sensor, which is smaller than most phones. The Campsnap Pro produces 16 megapixel photos, and the Flashback and Rewindpix are 13 megapixel photos. If they all use the same sensor, I'm gonna guess the Campsnap is just upscaling images. For the lenses, from widest to most tele, the Campsnap is a 22.5 millimeter lens. Then you have the Flashback's about a 30 millimeter equivalent lens, and then finally the Rewindpix is about 35 millimeters. So pretty big difference in field of view between these three cameras. What makes these cameras such a step above the super cheap cameras, and also even a feature your smartphone doesn't have, is all three of them have real xenon flashes. Well, that's going to give you that straight on early digicam or cheap point and shoot film flash look pretty well. All three cameras have internal rechargeable batteries that you can charge via USB-C, and you could technically open the cameras up and replace the battery cells one day, like they're not soldered in exactly, at least on the Campsnap they aren't. I haven't opened up the Rewindpix yet, but they're not user replaceable. And for all its qualms, that Yashica Y35 scammer everybody makes fun of, it did use AA batteries, and as a friend pointed out to me recently, this would be better for the environment so that you don't chuck the battery into the trash, into the environment when you're done with it. Okay, now let's look at build quality. All three of these cameras are plastic cheap cameras, but they do vary in build quality. The Campsnap Pro is the cheapest feeling of the bunch. It's just cheap plastic everywhere. It's about the same weight as the other three, but because it's the largest of the bunch, it doesn't feel as dense, so it feels more hollow. The cheap plastic silver design doesn't help it at all. It's not attractive to me. I think they would have gone better doing like the colorful, playful route with these models because it looks like it's trying too hard to be a Fuji X100 camera, but it comes off like the AliExpress knockoff. They also downgraded it in terms of the grip, which on the cheaper non-pro models, which is a cheap faux leather, which does peel off after a while, but at least had a different texture, and the Pro is all plastic. The shutter button does have some resistance, but it's just plastic on top of a normal switch. It's the worst out of the three in that regard, but whatever, it works fine. And between the next two, it's a toss-up in terms of best build quality. I think it just comes in different ways. The Flashback 135 V2 feels very sturdy, has a nice weight to it. I think the plastic is higher quality. The design is also really good here, and you can get a bunch of interesting color combinations or even this transparent model, which I think looks super cool. It's also the smallest and most compact of the three. The camera is a little thick, a little wide, a little big, but it still fits really nice and comfortably in my little biking shorts. It has a stylish rectangular shutter button, which has a nice squishy spring resistance to it. It's small and it's not in my favorite placement, a little bit to the back here, but it feels pretty good and has a nice mechanical click like the Rewindpix has. More on that feature later. This is the only one of the three without a tripod thread at the bottom, and it's the only one without a filter thread on the front. And it's the only one without a dedicated dial for switching through image filters. The Rewindpix takes a different design approach altogether. It looks more like an old Agfa film camera with a huge bright viewfinder and this boxy design. Plastic is good quality. It feels maybe the thickest of all three. It comes in 2 basic colors as of right now. The Flashback definitely wins for color combinations, but the Rewindpix has something going for it that no one else does in the style department, and that is a threaded shutter button. These are metal shutter buttons that you can swap out, sort of like Fuji digital cameras have. It's a nice big round shutter button, and being able to change them out and customize them is a cool bonus. It also has the mechanical click when you press the shutter button, just like the Flashback. And this is the only camera of the 3 to have a cold shoe, with the idea being that you could use a mini flash that syncs up to the in-body flash and gets you a brighter flash. I personally haven't tried this yet. I don't have a flash that would work with that, but that is an intriguing idea. All 3 cameras have optical viewfinders from smallest to largest, and the brightest goes the Flashback being the smallest, the Campsnap, and then finally the Rewindpix, which has a noticeably larger viewfinder that also has frame lines unlike the others. And they all work just fine. I don't have complaints for being cheap cameras, but the viewfinder on the Rewindpix definitely wins here. What you want is the biggest and brightest for this class of camera. Now the Rewindpix and the Flashback both use fake film winders between shots. The Campsnap you can just shoot away between shots, but the other 2 you must wind up between shots. This winding doesn't actually wind a shutter or advance the film, obviously, but they do wind up some mechanical device in there that gives you that mechanical click sound that you feel and hear when you press the shutter button. I think it's fun. It's obviously pointless, but I do think it's fun, and hearing the mechanical click is satisfying. The practical thing this does do, though, is it makes you forget about the shot-to-shot speed of these cameras, because by the time you wind it up, it's ready for the next shot anyway. The Flashback overall has the smoother mechanism, but there's an electronic piece associated with it that only engages when the camera is ready to take a shot, and the shot-to-shot time on this camera seems to be the slowest out of all of them. So this drives me crazy because the actual distance you wind between shots totally changes depending on when you first start winding. You do get used to it, you just get used to waiting, but yeah, it kind of drove me crazy. Okay, now it's important to actually talk about using the cameras and then the image quality from each of them. Campsnap is the easiest to use out of all 3. You can use it entirely without an app. You just turn the camera on, cycle through image filters with a dedicated dial, snap away, and when you're done, 30 pictures or 1,000 pictures later, you plug it into your computer or your phone, or you remove the included micro SD card and download the pics to your device. Super easy. You can change these built-in profiles by uploading profile files with the names corresponding to the buttons on the dial just to the micro SD card. And you can use public profiles that other people built or build your own using their website. But the best and my favorite part about all that is that these profiles are just text files, which you can just edit yourself without any interface and play with the values, meaning this will work forever, even when Campsnap, the company, is dead and gone. Flashback isn't so simple, but much of that is by design, and it's just not how I would want to use a camera. You can start snapping away with the Flashback right away using the default loaded profile. There's no way to change the profile on the camera itself, as far as I can tell. You have to use an app to do that. You can plug the camera into your device and download the files yourself, but unfortunately, these are RAW files that I couldn't get to open in any editor, but that might be coming in the future and would be cool. But there are also unprocessed JPEG files that you can access that don't have any filter applied, but at least it's better than nothing. You can get photos off the camera without using the app, which is important to me at least. The only way to get the processed photos, as far as I can tell, is you have to use their app, which requires making an account to access your photos. I don't like that at all. I wish, like the other cameras, you could apply the filters on the camera itself and then just grab the photos. Not only does it make it more future-proof, these also advertise being screen-free cameras, but then you have to use an app to like see your photos and download them and stuff anyway. I mean, I guess you'd have to use a laptop either way, but I don't know, it just feels like switching profiles you have to use the app for, so like you're like stuck to a screen anyway. I don't know. I would just like if it was decoupled a little bit more. Anyway, rant aside, if you like using the app works great. Super easy to connect, download photos, load new profiles, lots of cool profiles to choose from. The idea here with the Flashback is that you load up a profile like you load a roll of film, you shoot that whole roll, then you download it to your phone. It develops the roll. There's even a setting that you could have to wait 24 hours. And then once they're in the app and you have it, there is some export options, which is important because if you do delete the app or something, then you lose all your photos. So I'm glad they added the exports and everything there. I sound super negative about it. It actually works as a product very well. I'm just not an app person, so I wish it was even more seamless. If they can figure out, if I can learn, I guess, how to get the raw files off correctly and run my own profiles on them without the app, then we're golden. Using the Rewindpix is like a mix between using the Campsnap and the Flashback. You can use the camera entirely app-free to switch between profiles and download pictures. But if you want to use the wireless connection to download photos and change profiles using the app, you can. So it's a nice mix here of whether or not you actually want to use the app. And just like the Flashback, there's a lot of cool profiles here on the app that you can quickly load up. The neat thing about the Rewindpix, kind of like the Campsnap, is that you can have more than one profile at a time, that while you're out shooting, you can switch. Kind of like having like 3 rolls of film loaded to your camera. Like the film analogy breaks down pretty easily here. But okay, now for maybe the most important thing, and that's image quality. And then I'll give you my final verdict, like super fast rundown on all 3 cameras and which one you should get. All 3 cameras, image quality wise, look very similar overall. You're getting images much better than a cheapo Walmart camera, but a step below everything else, including your own phone, obviously, with the main advantage to a phone being the flash is real. And then the secondary thing is like the whole screen-free experience. You're not looking at your phone. Can't even see the pictures until you get home later and check them out. So I think there's something to be said for that too. The images are sort of a mix between old digital point and shoots, but then it leans into adding some really dramatic filters on top, sort of like early Instagram filters, but better, less cringy, but kind of in that direction. But as I say that, it's really not that bad at all. Actually, I've really enjoyed shooting all 3 of these cameras and their results. I think it's super fun to have a camera you throw around like this. If you're after the casual point and shoot flash, sometimes a little blurry, fixed focus lens look, then these cameras deliver that consistently. But if you like portraits or like really nice landscapes with detail, anything semi-close up, basically any other type of photography, then I think you'll wish you had something else in your pocket or just used your phone with like some retro camera app. These are the images. You can judge for yourself. If you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. So then, my final verdict, which out of the 3 do I think is the best? Well, that may depend on the particular feature or look and feel of what you're going for, but if I had to vote, at least like the best stuff, the Campsnap Pro is the cheapest, it's the simplest, it does basically the same thing as everyone else, it just doesn't look as nice physically and it lacks some features. And then the Flashback is interesting. I think it's like the iPhone of the group. It looks great, it's built great, the app works great, the photos are cool, you're just very limited in using it precisely how they want you to use it. I think that might be changing in the future. Like I saw the thing that they added the RAW that you can download. So they designed a good product, it's just maybe not the right product for you. It's just if you like it, you like it. And the Rewindpix is kind of a mix of the two. It blends the better build quality, has that huge viewfinder, the cold shoe, the swappable shutter button, the mechanical click together for a really compelling camera in this new kind of genre of cameras. I'd say the main downside is it's in a Kickstarter right now, and we don't know what the final price will be. And then, as always, I'll throw in my plug for buying an actual old Digicam. I know eBay is kind of annoying to deal with sometimes, and you don't know if it's going to work, and old memory formats and old batteries. But if you can get past all that, do a little bit of research, which I think is a little fun, you'll end up with something better, more options, like it can shoot RAW, and then you're upcycling something that would have ended up in the dumpster anyway, instead of producing a new thing. So just consider it. As always, happy snapping.